Welcome, everyone. I'm going to introduce the next speaker, Colby Drake. Colby was born and raised in Sutherland, Oregon. His career in wildland fire began in 1998 while working for the Douglas Forest Protection Association, DFPA, on a youth county crew during the summer. He continued working for DFPA through his next few summers while attending school at Western Oregon University. In 2003, he began work for his tribe's Natural Resources Department at the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde as a wildland firefighter, filling multiple roles as an engine boss and crew boss for the fire protection program. Colby continued his schooling remotely at University of Idaho, completing a graduate certificate program in wildfire ecology, technology, and fire management, while working full-time at the tribe's Natural Resource Department in different roles. In 2015, Colby became the Fire Management Officer for CTGR and fulfilled his role for 5 years. Currently, he's a Natural Resources Department Manager for the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, serving the tribal membership. Welcome.
Thank you, Bjorn. Appreciate that introduction. Like I said, my name's Colby Drake. I'm our Natural Resource Department Manager here at the Confederated Tribes, which this is Spirit Mountain Casino is our casino. So just welcome everybody to our homelands. I wasn't available yesterday to be here to participate, and so today is my first day being here, and so it's great to see all these faces and recognize people and keep our partnerships going. So today I've been asked to present our Natural Resource Management Plan, which is a document that I'm really excited to share with everybody. This is a 10-year programmatic plan that we work with the state of Oregon, we work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and we work with within our own tribe with different departments such as Cultural Resources, our Tribal Historical Preservation Office, our Lands Department, Legal Department, all that fun stuff. So I'll start this off. This is a story map. If people aren't familiar with story maps, it's a process or I guess an alternative to some PowerPoint presentations, other versions of presentations. I'm a big fan of story maps. It's a great opportunity to just see the flow through everything. You're able to put in videos, different sound clips, interactive maps, can be able to zoom in and do all of that. So I'll start with that right now and we'll kind of go through it. So the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, like we said, we do this 10-year management plan. Every 10 years, this is I believe our fourth iteration. We had a 5-year plan in the early 90s. We did a 10-year plan from, I think, 92 to 2002. And so we're just slowly working up through these 10-year plans. A big thing for us is obviously in the face of climate change that things are happening. We wanted to create a plan that's going to show resiliency for the next 10 years. We want to focus on many different areas. We have a 10,000 acre reservation, just under 10,000 acres, and we ask a lot out of those 10,000 acres. Our membership is just over, I think, 6,500 right now, 6,000 or so, and we are a lot of times asked to provide fish and wildlife, hunting opportunities, gathering opportunities, timber production, generating revenue for the membership. We are asked to do a lot of burning. We're asked to do recreation, trails, camping, ceremony, solitude. And that's a lot to ask out of 10,000 acres when at the big picture, we're just a pixel or two on the map of Oregon. And the good thing is, we can provide all of these things in that 10,000 acres, which is something I think Grand Ronde and our tribe should be really proud of. We got just a couple of photos there. I won't go through everything. They grabbed one of me looking at some timber. One thing that we do have the opportunity is we have mills close to us, and that a lot of tribes don't have those opportunities for hauling routes. And so we do have some larger timber, and we are fortunate that we have a mill locally that we can get to for large timbers. And I say locally, it's 2 hours south down Monroe near Junction City. So our tribal land location, I think you guys are familiar where we're located at today. We're here on the West Coast, West Pacific Northwest, Oregon. And like I was mentioning earlier, we do have a lot of onshore flow. We deal with smoke management. We're kind of located right in there between Salem and the coast. And so we have a lot of people, a lot of tribal members, and a lot of staff working, traveling from Salem, from the coast, or everything. So we're spread out pretty thin. Whoops. But this is part of the interactiveness of the story maps. We can kind of go through. So this is our ceded lands. These are our treaty lands that we signed treaties before in the 1850s. Grand Ronde is a unique tribe. There was a Western Oregon Termination Act in the 1950s, and Grand Ronde, along with other tribes in Western Oregon, were terminated by the federal government. We were not seen as a federally recognized tribe. Our people were asked to assimilate and basically turn into Oregonians and become citizens of Oregon. And so that was a really rough time for our people. There was over 30 years of no federal recognition. In the early 80s, we were able to get reestablished, and through 1988, I think, Reservation Act, we were able to receive our 10,000 acres. And if we're able to zoom in here a little bit, you'll be able to see that the original reservation that was 60,000 acres before termination is what we had. And slowly, as we were able to get that back, like I said, it was just reduced down to 10,000 acres. And so most of our reservation is located in Yamhill County. And yeah, keep on moving down. So this is our actual reservation, the size of it. You can see carrying down from the previous map, the green 60,000 acre original reservation. We have a process put in place right now that any properties or land within that 60,000 acre original boundary, we have basically a streamlined fee to trust process through the federal government, through the BIA. So we've really focused on that area to look for new lands to bring in. All of the red are natural resource management, the planned properties that we manage through the natural resources. Another area that we work on is protecting our waters. I won't click on this one because it'll take us to another website. But we have Agency Creek is our main creek that runs through the reservation, and we have salmon returns actually into Agency Creek. It's a very interesting thing. When I first started here, thinking we were only about, I think, 12 nautical miles away from the ocean, like, oh, these fish just come right over. Well, they actually go up the Columbia, up the Willamette Falls, keep coming, hit, I believe it's Tualatin, all the way, and it just keeps on coming. So I believe it's a 200 and something. I'm looking at Marie, one of our biologists. I believe it's a 211-mile round trip one way just to get to the reservation. Our stat that we always try to share is our waterways on the reservation make up 2/100ths of the Willamette Basin, but we receive almost 2% of the fish returning. So that's something that we're really proud of, that we must be doing our water quality right, because we're getting fish to return. Over the years, we've been able to create a fish weir on our Agency Creek. When I first started here, it was checking a few hours and people spending the night out there clearing the fish weir and doing all that. We've got to the point now where we have, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's basically sonar. ARIS is so we can sit there and on a computer and actually watch under the water and see our fish coming up, and we can do our fish counts that way. And that has helped tremendously. Yeah, before it was weeks and weeks and long nights and everything. And now we can just have somebody sit down in front of a computer and do our fish counts, which has been huge for us. We have different types of streams on our reservation. Working through the riparian zones, we are always looking to go above and beyond any state minimums or federal minimum requirements. And so we've been working through that process. I'm really proud of this process because it combines our timber side and forestry and our biology. So we have field biologists and field foresters go out together and they decide where our streams intermediate stream start, how many wildlife trees, which ones they're going to be selecting. And in my experience, this has worked out really well between the two disciplines. Something that we do have on the reservation is some older stands. I believe Grand Ronde is a proponent of, having reserves possibly in areas that are set aside, but it doesn't mean that it's no touch, no enter. There are opportunities to do management when we have salvage or we have disease or natural disturbances that are occurring. And you can see those kind of areas in the brown our reserves that we've set aside. But it still allows us to enter. A lot of times we get requests from engineering side of things that we're going to have a new project like our powwow arbor, and they would like to have larger timbers available. And so that gives us still the opportunity to go into those areas and pull out some of those logs and timbers that we can use for those projects. Oh, I should mention here too, the area on the far right there, the big brown, is called Coast Creek. And that's one of the areas that we really wanted to create a contiguous land connected so animals would be able to move, because right after that to the east, that would be BLM property over there. And then up to the north, it goes into U.S. National Forest Service. National Forest there. So we wanted to have somewhat of a highway, a way for animals to be moving back and forth between there. So yeah, we'll see how that works for us over the next 10 years. Recreation is a big portion of what goes on the reservation. We have, I believe, something around 19 miles of trails. We have a 22, I shouldn't say the exact number, but we have a campground up there with RV sites, tent sites, and other camping opportunities. Day trail for hiking out there. That's kind of one of our tent sites there. Obviously, it rains a lot here in the Northwest, and so we want to be able to have little stands and platforms so they're not sitting in the water. This is one of our Yoncalla falls, actually one of our waterfalls there on the reservation. When I mentioned earlier about ceremony, this is an area that we do women coming of age or men coming of age. We're working on trying to make a better area for our cultural resources and some of our youth empowerment opportunities there. But it's definitely one of the best waterfalls, I think, on the reservation, and we have a trail system that goes right up to it. Was on that one. All right, and here's kind of that, what I was mentioning, the Coast Creek drainage and that trail. So we have a trail system that goes through that Coast Creek reserve area. It follows on both sides of the creek. I believe we only have the west side trail finished right now and working here soon on the east side. But during the summer months, we're able to bring on a youth crew, and they basically spend a majority of their time working for us, maintaining and building these new trails for us. And Owen will slow down a little bit because, yeah, it's a pretty big file, I'm sure. So working down here, a lot of our trails through the maps. One area that we have within our natural resources is our wildland fire program. I think during my introduction, I mentioned that's kind of where I got my start in all of this, was coming up through the wildland fire program. Stop that. But our wildland fire program is a self-sufficient. We have an enterprise. So anything that we do where we send out our fire engines on a daily rental rate, any revenue that's generated comes back to the program itself and stays within that enterprise. And we're able to keep our equipment updated, keep things repaired, maintained, and that's been a great opportunity for a lot of young tribal members to get out. I'm a big proponent of the fire program. I feel like it gives people opportunities to see areas that they've never seen before, kind of have that team camaraderie throughout multiple years, and they're able to do it during the summer months too. So we're very fortunate where we're located at right here. We have OSU, Oregon State University, less than an hour away from us. We have U of O, University of Oregon, about 2 hours away from us. We have Linfield, Portland State. So we have a lot of opportunity about 2 hours away from us with college age students. So we do a lot of recruiting in that world and try to get everybody on there. We bring about, we get about 50 people red carded annually. And we are a national resource. We have a type 2 initial TAC 20-person hand crew that goes out pretty much all summer long. We participate in a lot of prescribed burning. This has been kind of a new area where we have all of these new properties through restoration and through other programs that we need to be able to manage these properties, and fire is by far one of our best tools that we can utilize for these properties. I figured we'd have a little bit of slow internet here, so I won't go through most of these, but just some really neat opportunities. This first one up on top was Noble Oaks. This was a property that we received through TNC, an agreement with them to manage because it's just down the road from us. And then this property to the south is down by Monroe, and this was acquired through, I'm going to say OWEB, but I think it was through Bonneville Power Administration. So the Willamette Wildlife Mitigation Project. Basically, if you're not familiar with that, that is BPA's. They have to mitigate for the terrestrial animals in the land that was lost behind the dams on the Columbia. And so we participate in that program. I think Grand Ronde is one of the largest benefactors from that. We have just about over 2,500 acres of land that we've acquired through that program. And it's all mostly within the Willamette Valley for us. There's our hand crew working on a national forest project fire. 2020, we definitely had our first experience of actually having wildland fire in the Coast Range. We had a fire just down the road from us towards Lincoln City called the Echo Mountain Fire. And that was one of the first opportunities since I've been here that Grand Ronde got to host a fire camp. We got to have our council kind of see what that's all about and what we experience when all of us are out on project fires. And it was really neat. I thought it was a great opportunity for our administration and leadership to see what a lot of us are doing out there during the summer months. They were bringing rock stars to everybody. I think that was one of the best fire camps we've ever had. Everybody was just, our council didn't quite know what to do. It was just, we have all these hundreds of people and like, how do we, welcome them? How do we give them what they need to be successful? It was a great couple weeks there. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, jump in, please. Yes. It is through ArcGIS is where we have it posted and everything. I believe we could probably get it onto just our website and have it available, but we can easily share this with anybody. That's the intent of this, is to be able to get out there and distribute it to anybody that's interested. Yes, right now it is its own website, but yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah, no worries. So going into some of the resilient landscapes that we're working on that are part of our reservation, fire management has been an essential tool for this. Other things that we're running into out there that we're finding due to climate change is we're looking at, right here is laminated root rot pockets. And if you're familiar with laminated root rot, it's a infection basically of the soil itself, of the land. It's not necessarily the trees are the host, it's the soil itself. And so it is a natural disturbance. I'm definitely in the opinion that it allows us, to, well, basically laminated root rot kills our Doug fir trees. And so it creates that natural opportunity for other species to come up, whether we're looking at hemlock, cedar, or alder. And so what we started finding was we had a lot more of these laminated root pockets that we thought we had. And so it's kind of given us this opportunity to look at how, like, our species composition. So with the Pacific Northwest, like the industry plants 99% Doug fir monoculture back. And that's something that we really wanted to look forward to the next, not just 10 years, 20 years, or 50 years, or even longer. We're typically on a 70-year rotation for our reservation. Industry's at a 40-year rotation. So we do things a little bit different. And so one thing that we came up with was a completely different species composition. In the past, we were at 94% Doug fir, 2% hemlock, 2% cedar, and 2% others. And this next 10-year plan, we are changing our tree composition, species composition to 30% hemlock, 30% cedar, 30% Doug fir, and 10% others, whether that's spruce, more true firs, just depending on the site. So that's really exciting for us. Obviously, it comes with a lot of changes because we work with the BLM seed orchards. And so growing out our seed for the next few years is going to be a big change. I'm no longer in that role, so we have somebody else doing that, which is great. And this is an older picture. That's actually me on the far right before I was in this role. And so actually has me out there planting trees on one of our properties. So we're really excited about that. Here's kind of talking through that, what that mix is going to look like. We're really excited about this. Another big one too is the state minimum right now is 2 wildlife trees per acre. They can be hardwoods, softwoods, whatever. We've always done 6 trees per acre, and they all had to be hardwoods, no softwoods. No, they all had to be deciduous. No, I've gotten that wrong. Evergreen. I'm saying that wrong. Yeah. So one thing that we're looking at changing also now is going from 6 wildlife trees to 12 wildlife trees per acre. And that's a pretty drastic change. It looks different. I wish I had a nice picture. We have this map up in our conference room that you can see all the industry cuts and clear cuts all around us. And then you can see our reservation, and there are all these just little pockets of green all over. There's no brown. We don't use herbicides on our reservation. We have an integrated pest management plan that we work through. So if we did need to use herbicides, we could get to that point, but it is definitely a last option available for us. We don't do any aerial application on our reservation. And so, yeah, it's we definitely are looking at doing things a little bit different than the industry or even the way that Grand Ronde has done stuff in the past. And for me, that's really exciting. We're looking at just different opportunities and to do things a little bit different. So we definitely have some species out there like madrone, Pacific yew, that we're red alder that we're looking to keep too, because again, we're so fortunate that we have these local mills. We have hardwood mills. We have an alder mill over in Tillamook that we have access to. So yeah, really fortunate there. Like I said, we've basically always looked at Douglas firs, like the tree to be, but what we've found through scoping and everything, our tribal members want to see more cedar out there. They want to see it available. And in the past, it's always been kind of planted or put around riparian zones, which sometimes are the most difficult places to actually get to because they're in the bottom of the drainage, they're down there the hill. And so we're really working on locating areas that we can have cedar accessible for the membership. So near roads, near some of our elk meadows, areas like that, near trails. So it's not this. Right now, basically, the membership has to request us to go out and get cedar for them because we don't have as much out there and they don't know where it's at. So we're trying to work with them through that process. So what we're looking at in our natural resource plan is, future conditions and what we're trying to create out there. In my short time, I've definitely learned that forestry is a process that takes a long time. It's a slow process. Instead of a 40-year rotation, my father was a timber cutter, and he always said, if you find yourself cutting the same stand twice, it's time to get out of the woods. And I'm at that point where we'll probably never see the results of what this plan is going to look like in that 70 years. But I feel like forestry is that process where you're passing down what you've learned and what you've accomplished to the next generation. And I heard the gentleman earlier today speak on like that 7 generations. And I really like what he said, because I have that kind of same belief is starting with myself as the first generation, I could look back 3 generations to my great grandparents. And those are people I've met and I've seen them. I feel like I could have an impact on them. And then so 3 more generations ahead of me will be my great grandchildren. And I hopefully will be able to meet them and have an impact on them. And so for me, that gives that a little bit more context of the 7 generations, because it is hard for me to look out 7 generations out there, whether that's 100+ years or not. So we're really excited about this plan. We think we're setting up our tribe. We feel like we're setting up our people to be successful over the next decade to next century almost. Obviously, adaptive management, it's kind of a new buzzword, I will say that, but it works for Grand Ronde. It gives us the opportunity to do things just different than the industry does. We're able to create events where we can get the membership, we can get our council, we can get our partners out into the woods, and we can showcase some of these opportunities. This is one of our past tribal council members, Jack Giffen Jr. This is just up on the Forest Service property just outside of our reservation. But we have a great partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, with the Siuslaw National Forest, the Willamette, and Mount Hood. We just last week had a Tri-Forest MOU meeting with them, and it just works out really well. They came out and visited us and got to see a lot of this that you're seeing today also. So I think this is the end right here. That's a cedar tree. It's a little dark, but I just want to give a big thank you to Michael Karnosh. He's our Timber Resource Program Manager. This was his idea to come up with this. He had participated in the past on a story map that with one of our GIS coordinators in the past, and they actually won an award for their story map across the country for our story of South Wind. So he has a lot of experience with these story maps. He feels like and I agree that they're great opportunities to how to share our information. So yeah, I just wanted to give him a big thanks. He put this together. This was kind of his baby, and I'm sorry, sad to say, but he's moving on to a new position starting on Monday, and so I'm losing my Timber Resource Program Manager, but within the tribe, he'll still be here. He'll still be our ceded lands coordinator. So if you've worked with Michael Karnosh in the past, he'll still be available to work. So that's all I have for my presentation today. I can easily take any questions that you guys may have and go from there. Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions for Colby? I can't see if there are any online. We'll stop sharing and then we'll be able to see if there are any Zoom participants with questions.
How does your tribe look at like old growth stands? Like, are they all treasured, or are they also cut, or are they only cut for your tribe, or like how
I would say it's a tricky one. I mean, I know there's a lot of the old growth like policy coming up right now with the U.S. Forest Service. We kind of don't look at it as old growth. We just look at it as trees and that they're available. We definitely have areas where we have more of a higher density of them. And I would say that they're in our reserves. But like you said, if we needed a larger timber or something like that for a project, they would be available to us. I think we also don't necessarily have the belief that we need to just always leave it be if there's an opportunity. I definitely come from a background and I believe in, there was no wilderness, there was no untouched, romanticized version of the West. It's always been managed. Humans are part of the ecosystem and part of the landscape, and to remove humans from the landscape, I think that's kind of gotten us into the spot we're at today. And so I'm a big believer in making sure that we still, I'm just trying to say, like, we're not looking at maybe logging heavy-handed on those areas, but we're definitely giving the opportunity that we can still go back in there and as needed. Whether it's fire, whether it's salvage, whether it could be a disease or something, we don't want to have an area that's just completely no touch. Nobody's ever going to go in there again to do any management. But yeah, hopefully that answers.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. Yes. So just so happens myself and one of our staff members, Joseph Ham, will be leading the native plant nursery tour tonight up at our natural resources department. I'm really excited for this. This is something that we started with an OWEB Plants for People grant. I think it was about 2014 or 13 or so, and it's just blown up. We never thought it would turn into something like this. We thought, oh, there'd be an opportunity to grow some native plants and put them back into some areas here, but it has turned into this educational opportunity, school age children. I feel like we have school buses at our office 2 to 3 times a week from all the way from, we have a Lilu, basically preschool age kids, all the way up to high school kids, master gardener classes. Everybody's coming out to visit. And so we're doing things, of course, a little bit different in our nursery compared to a lot of other places. And it's expanded so fast. I feel like we're at this point where we've outgrown our space at the natural resources department and we're looking at areas where we can put others. But I think that's going to be a great opportunity there too, because we have such a diverse, just ecosystems across. We have the coastal system, we have the Willamette Valley kind of drier system, and then we have all the way going up to the Cascades on that side. So we need different plants from those different areas. We're really in this location right now where it's like, we don't have poison oak on the reservation, but you go just a little bit further to the east and there's poison oak everywhere. We don't have madrones on the reservation. So we have all these like little just ecosystems within it. And so, yeah, we're always trying to look for new opportunities to native plants, first foods, non-native invasives, trying to remove those. So that's kind of how it all started at the very beginning. We just were looking for an opportunity we found ourselves basically buying plants from nurseries where we didn't know where the seed source was. We're putting those into the ground, and that was just, we found not a good process and policy. So this way we know exactly where we're pulling our seeds. We know where we're getting them, we know how they're being grown, and there's just a little bit more behind them. The seeds are blessed. We've had council come and view things. We've had our cultural resource team involved. And yeah, it's to this point where it's not necessarily self-sufficient yet, but we're generating some funds off of it. It's working out really well. And yeah, I'm just excited to showcase it to you guys today. And we'll have another staff member, Joseph Ham, which I think you guys will really enjoy him tonight. He's a really interesting guy and he's got some really good stories to tell too. So yeah.
And that's at 6 o'clock in the hotel lobby. Did we need to have people make reservations for that on Whova? Thanks, Randy. Thanks very much, Colby. What a great presentation.
Thank you.